Yeah. Starting the video from this one. One more Russian shadow oil fleet tanker was hit by Ukrainian drone boats. Those Magura boats are very, very effective. And you see, this is a big kaboom, and this boat is going to add something more. Near the rudder, as I see it. Yeah, that's the spot that it was hit. One more drone and no worries. This tanker is empty, but it was used by Russia to transport Russian oil from Novorossiysk port. That port, as we know, is also under constant Ukrainian strikes. Yep, definitely a kaboom. So you may understand that probably the Black Sea will not be habitated for those tankers pretty much soon, because the companies that operate those tankers, they cannot sustain those risks. No any insurance company will compensate that stuff. Just imagine how much the insurance could potentially cost. The price of the tanker, what else? All of the equipment and crew. I wonder why crew still risks operating in the Black Sea after all. Well, most of the personnel on those tankers are Russians and Chinese. Sometimes also people from Philippines, because in general there are lots of the sailors in the world from that country, but in the Black Sea for those contracts usually they're not going. And this is the spot where the attack had happened on the way to reach Novorossiysk port, as I mentioned you. Yeah, Ukraine had attacked another Russian oil tanker in the Black Sea. The attack took place a few hours ago. 3 drones hit the Gambian flag tanker the Shan. If it is Gambian, it doesn't mean that it's not working for Russia. Russian shadow fleet is usually registered in some other countries. And the particular vessel is under the sanctions as the part of the Russian shadow fleet. Well, it seems like Ukrainian sanctions are more effective in this case. A group of naval drones moved out from Odessa region at night and headed towards the eastern part of the Black Sea, bypassing the Crimean Peninsula. And Russia cannot do a thing about it. Their navy fleet is freaking blocked. They cannot operate their vessels to protect the shadow fleet because they also could be a prey and maybe even a better variant for Ukrainian sea drones to attack. Yeah, Russia lost multiple of the ships because of the Ukrainian sea drones or naval drones. During the attack on the tanker, a British RC-135 Whiskey reconnaissance aircraft was operating in the air in the western Black Sea. Maybe it was coordinated with some of our allies who still do not hesitate to supply all of the necessary information for Ukraine. Brits, you're good. Now let's listen to some of the Russian propaganda. I mean, not Mario himself, but he accommodates. He gives the platform for complete scumbags on his show. I'm gonna censor them. Yeah, you see. You'll not see the guy behind my image, but you know whom I'm talking about. Just pathetic clown. Let's listen to what he said. I was just laughing out loud.
It's not hard to attack unarmed freighters, oil tankers. That's very easy. But doing that then provides President Putin with the justification to take Odessa. Right now, the Russian forces are very close to Zaporizhzhia. The bridge across the Dnieper River is intact.
So, justification for Putin to take Odessa. This guy behind my image, he's really clown. I wonder how he even served in the United States Army, colonel, or what was his rank like. So Russia is unable to protect its own trade fleet in the Black Sea, and he says that Russia is capable to take Odessa. With what? This is the port city. You need to have the landing operation. There is no other way how you can take Odessa. From what? Like here in Transnistria, they will not attack from this side. They're maximum 3,000 troops. What is 3,000 troops? Per week, Russia loses more soldiers than their forces out there in Transnistria. We just need to look at the map and understand that Odessa is probably harder city to get even compared to Kiev. Because of those water obstacles, first of all, you can see, we call them limans, huge lakes coming from the sea or to the sea, which gives just few of the roads which could be easily cut by Ukraine at any freaking moment. Initially, the idea of Russian army was to go to Odessa, and it was their move. Kherson, Mykolaiv, and this bridge was just open and Russia couldn't advance using this road, and they had to go to freaking Voznesensk, and only from Voznesensk they potentially may go here to Odessa. Just imagine this distance. It is not real. It doesn't matter justification for Putin to have Odessa, to take Odessa. Putin wants to occupy entire Ukraine. He doesn't need some sort of the justification. He would have done it a long time ago if he had enough resources. He cannot take freaking Pokrovsk for already 19 months. It's already in December. 19 months the battle for Pokrovsk, and still it is at least partially under Ukrainian control. Yeah, the situation there is difficult for Ukrainian army, especially in Mirnograd. But still, Russian army is not that capable, like as Putin tries to tell. And today I'm gonna tell you about the frontline update in Kupiansk. This is just crazy situation for Russians because their supplies were completely cut, and there is a very, very high chance for them to get absolutely trapped in Kupiansk. But at the same time, Putin and those crazy, stupid pro-Russian propagandists or Russian propagandists telling absolute bullshit about Odessa or any other city. Russia doesn't have simply enough resources for Odessa. Russia lost lots of the ships, big landing ships. They were kaboomed by Ukrainian drone boats. They were nailed by even Storm Shadow missiles, cruise missiles. That guy simply doesn't understand what he's speaking about. What Russia may do that they may harm Ukrainian infrastructure more, like ports of Ukraine in Odessa, and not just in Odessa, also at the border with Romania. But that is what they've done before. So by targeting Russian ships, nothing changes. Russia was attacking even international LNG tankers. It was an attack 1 month ago, and only after that Ukraine started to use its drones against Russian oil shadow fleet vessels, commercial vessels in the Black Sea. So nothing new for Ukraine in this case, and Russia will need 100 years maybe to advance to Odessa, and they need to waste millions and millions and millions of their soldiers for this mission to occupy this very not easy city to occupy. You see, the geographical perspective of it. Just because of those lakes, Limans, they're quite long. You have just few of the supply lines. Russians couldn't go from Mykolaiv. Russians would be trapped over here, over here, over here. It's not possible. The only variant is the big landing operation, and for Russia, it's not possible because their navy fleet is not existing in the Black Sea. They cannot protect themselves and their commercial connections. Yeah, that guy about Odessa, this is very funny. Such a nonsense from the Russian propaganda. Well, at the same time, we shouldn't underestimate the enemy. At the same time, Russia has resources, some of them in the army, of course, more than in Ukraine, but they struggle more with each year. By the time Ukraine resists, Russian economy declines, and in a future perspective, unfortunately, it might take some of the years, Russia will not be able to maintain its war in Ukraine. At the same time, there are also risks for Europe because Russia may not start like the full-scale attack operation as they do right now in Ukraine, but Russians may make some of the provocations with a limited number of their forces, for example, Suwalki Corridor or Estonia. I think we're gonna see it in the future because the reaction of Europe is not that strong on current Russian provocations with drones and fighter jets. Plus, sabotage operations, I also noticed about it in my last video. Well, since we start speaking about the situation on the front lines, let's continue with that one. I mean, with Odessa, now let's move to Kupiansk. And here in Holubivka, Russian military bloggers say that supplies were totally cut by Ukraine. Still, there is the presence of the Russian armed forces here and there, but logistics is not possible. They're jammed between Ukrainian forces and the Oskil River. And basically it creates the big trap for the Russian forces placed in Kupiansk, and not entirely in Kupiansk, but in the northern part of the city. They're out of supplies. The only possible variant for them is to receive supplies via drones or some of the supply bots, robots, but they are also spotted by Ukrainian drone operators. Well, Russians also use drones and sometimes even aviation in the city, but they cannot propel forward any longer. As you might have seen, there's standstill here for few weeks already, almost a single month. There is no movement. That's because Ukraine aims towards Russian supplies. So Russians created this big trap for them personally. Their main disadvantage here is that they need to supply this bridgehead across Oskil River, and it's still not that robust. There are no big hubs of supplies for Russians. They are constantly under Ukrainian drone strikes. Plus, they were cut here in Holubivka. This road is very narrow. There were just a couple of the variants how they could potentially provide supplies for Kupiansk group, but now it's not any longer like that. And Russians say that Ukrainian forces have already been spotted in Moskovka. Yes, we don't have like real drone image for now. I'm just telling what they say in their channels, and they're panicking about Kupiansk, especially when Putin proclaimed that this city is fully occupied by Russia. Long time ago, at the beginning of November, he says that all of that is under Russian control, but in fact it's not. It's some sort of the special thing of the Russian military command. They announce something ahead of it to happen. Yeah, maybe Russians may occupy Kupiansk, who knows, maybe even at the beginning of the next year. After all, Russian army is bigger than the Ukrainian one. But Putin and Gerasimov, they already reported, oh, it's fully occupied, and this group of Ukrainian army over here, it's been encircled entirely, they're jammed, but now we have the encirclement of the Russian army. And also, yeah, Ukraine continued to lose some of the forces, but Ukraine at the same time uses lots of the drones to stop Russian advancements. And I would say I didn't expect actually this operation to be that successful for Ukrainian army after I saw Russians entering the city. I thought, okay, it's going to be urban fights. Ukraine will try to avoid that and little by little withdraw from the city. But again, 1 month almost, there is no any freaking change here. Plus, now it is even getting tremendously worse for Russians. And you know, from what I see, and I monitor front lines every day, Russia started to slow down its offensive, especially in the key points as Konstantinovka, as in Pokrovsk-Mirnograd direction. How long has it been since Russia went to Pokrovsk, the southern part of it? 2 months already? And this small settlement, smaller compared to Kupiansk, they still cannot occupy, even having those tremendous losses. Yeah, in Mirnograd it was a failure of Ukrainian defense, let's be honest, why our forces are being partially encircled here. But it's not the tragedy of the Bakhmut level, where Ukraine lost, unfortunately, thousands of the forces. Here there could be hundreds of Ukrainian troops, and now, unfortunately, they'll have to get out with losses. That's I have lots of the questions for Ukrainian military command here, and there were some small encirclements of Ukrainian groups in Mirnograd, the southern part of it, where Ukrainian armed forces surrendered to Russians or were forced to surrender. And sometimes Russians, they do not take prisoners of war. In many of the cases, actually. But in general, you see, even in Zaporizhia direction, Russia had losses, and all of those attacks, flag operations, they were cut by Ukrainian drone operators. In Gulaipole, they also attempted to go straight forward to the main street, where they were met with Ukrainian drone fire, a small infiltration attempt that happened in the morning. So there is no such a big pace as it was before. Russia has already reached the defense line of Ukraine, and soon it's going to be a long battle for this ground. Yeah, Russia has more chances to break through compared to Ukrainian army to hold this line for extensive period of time, for maybe 1 year. I'm sure that the next year Russia may break through, but again and again there will be new defense lines of Ukrainian army, and the fight for Zaporizhia, also it might happen in the next couple of years, but it will take so many of the Russian soldiers and so many of the Russian resources in general that the Russian economy will not survive it again in a long run. So we're not speaking about tomorrow's victory of Ukraine, but Russia simply geographically having current resources and the prospect for economy to stagnate or stagflate, as they call it, also a soft landing of the Russian economy. This term has been used by the Russian Central Bank and Putin himself. So with all of those factors, Russia cannot be victorious in Ukraine. That's why they're pushing Trump somehow to force Ukraine to capitulate and leave, for example, Donbass, for Russian army and economy not to suffer losses. So for them, it's the ideal variant. And of course, Ukraine will never ever agree on that. Trump is just a delusional guy. What happened here? Roboting a couple of the armored vehicles. Already told about it. So we have those signs mostly coming from 2 days ago. For the last couple of days, there were no significant changes on the front lines. In Siversk, Russia, by the way, moved more. Yeah, they're using aviation, and there are some of the battles happening. Ukraine operates with the drones. Russia operates with gliding bombs, and infantry was spotted here. Actually, it was a Ukrainian infantry fighting with Russians here. So those baby steps, they will not force Ukraine to capitulate, of course, and there's no condition on the front lines, on the ground, for Ukraine to say, oh, we give up, take our Donbass, please, do not destroy the entire Ukraine, do not go to Odessa, please. No, it's not happening. Ukraine is not at the brink of the failure in this war to lose it imminently. No, it is a war of attrition, and here we need the unity from our allies to support Ukraine for as long as possible, because only that is how this war could be won. And it's already existential war for Ukraine and also for the Russian regime, by the way. So someone should remain alone, either Ukraine or Russian regime, should be victorious. I don't think that Russian regime has lots of the chances to survive it, and I don't see for Ukraine to lose it completely. No, for next few years there will be war as it is going right now. Russia may propel slowly on the front lines with heavy losses. They may announce even new mobilization. That's what they're planned to do for the next year with the reservists, they call. They do not call it a mobilization, but some sort of the military drills. So they will move in Zaporizhia and Donbass, but again, they're moving and destroying the ground. All of the villages, towns, completely flatlined. What they want to achieve with that, hard to say. That's the Russian peace or the Russian world as it is. Oh, no, actually I was wrong. Russia went on attack this morning in Pokrovsk. Just look at this convoy and all of those vehicles, and very terrible weather conditions. You can see snow and some sort of the poor visibility there. Nevertheless, all of the vehicles were found, kaputted together with the Russian infantry. How can our guys operate in this weather? Russians thought that they can use even vehicles if the weather is that bad. Alright, they tried, but it didn't happen. Also, all-terrain vehicles were sent with anti-drone warfare that doesn't work. Oh, what a nice picture. What a nice picture. The 7th Corps of the Ukrainian army is working very good. I will save this one for the thumbnail. It looks pretty much epic. Really nice. And again, I'm surprised about this poor weather and how Ukraine effectively operates with the drones even there. It's crazy. It's outstanding. If you climb a little higher, it's easy to lose the orientation control and everything. So our guys are forced to lie low, and still the signal is good. It means that probably those are the fiber optic control drones. Nice. By the way, the Ukrainian flight drone simulator was released, and the reviews are pretty much positive from what I see. But again, it's like not more the game, but rather than the flight simulator of the drone, and it worked for me just with this controller for the standard PS5. So far, it doesn't work for me especially. Maybe I have some unique situation, who knows. So guys, I recommend to use professional controller if you want to get this game, and the price is 33 euros, something like that. Yeah, Deep State already shows. They say it's a dark day for the Russian armed forces not far away from Pokrovsk. Yeah, this particular convoy was out of all-terrain vehicles mostly. It was an attempt of the Russian army to cross the railroads with the main forces, this divisive line between the southern and the northern parts of the town. The northern area is mostly still controlled by Ukrainian army. Russians are spotted there just occasionally with 1-2 soldiers per group, but spotted. And when Russia decides to move more reinforcements, here is the outcome. So you see, Russia actually has two of the disasters, one in Kupiansk and the other one happened today with their forces in Pokrovsk. Totally cancelled, annihilated, destructed, demolished by Ukrainian drones. Awesome job, Ukraine, awesome! A new video from the Ukrainian drone operators. They're hitting some of the Russian air defense systems like Tor M12. Ooh, wow, it's definitely, straight to the back. You can see it's on fire. And one more, what is that, book or what? Tor, again, Tor system. It's the shorter range than book, but anyways, very capable. Sometimes Russia uses Tor systems on its ships, and this is Book M3, the most modern modification of it. Wow, boom. Was it hit or not? I hope it was. Well, anyways, Russia loses so many of the air defense systems in Crimea, occupied territories, in Russia itself. It's absolute madness how many losses they have. Those very sensitive tools which they need to protect Moscow and Putin personally. That's what they try to do most of the time. Crunch battalions of the Russian army. Wow. This guy is already, like, his dream is to get to Odessa 100%. He'll be there tomorrow, actually, with the same pace, yeah, right? This is Russian Rembo, you know, the special operation is done by him mostly. You see, maybe he's already in Odessa, who knows? I should ask someone from Odessa to confirm that. Oh my god, Russians in Odessa, come on. Wow. So the reality of the Russian army is far from Russian propaganda. Russian army is struggling in Ukraine. And yeah, it's the part of the Russian army. Those are Chmobiks and Crunch battalions. They're not that capable, not capable at all. But they do those flag missions. They also distract the Ukrainian resources, drone resources, yeah, for them. At the same time, Russia operates kind of limited forces, actually, if we speak about really capable army. They do not have lots of those army men. And how long can they waste those in this war? Yeah, maybe a few years Russia may do it. According to Bild, Russia has resources, military and economy to continue the war for the next 18 months. Well, we'll see. If your army is super duper capable, why do you keep those guys in it? Why not to tell them go home? Yeah, why they can script those guys who obtain wounds? Because Russian army has a huge problem. It seems like it's not that fancy as Russian propaganda says, yeah? It's not that capable.
А там разберемся.
Russia. Yeah, let's drink from the swamps, from the ponds, from everything. Water delivery from the skies. God cares about Russian soldiers more than Putin himself. I wonder why there is even no attempt of them to filter this water. Just drink like that, like animals were. To some of the other news, the Russian fishermen are looking for the big fish. This is Antonov 22, the one I mentioned in my previous video, a big cargo military airplane that was used for the Russian Air Force. Maybe they even transported some of the military equipment. So the plane crash landed into the lake. As eyewitnesses reported, it separated, like dismantled, dispersed into the skies, and just debris hit the lake. So it wasn't the hard landing at the lake. And now search and rescue fishing team is fishing for the remains of the crew. And maybe some of the black boxes. Oh no, Russia, what happened? It seems like one more cargo airplane was lost for the Russian army. A military airplane, Ilyushin 76, crashed in Sudan. All of the crew members were flatlined. Should there also be a fishing operation done in Sudan to search for those crew members as well? Could be. Lots of the mishaps are happening with the Russian planes and the Russian army. I like this trend. I hope it will evolve into some sort of the Russian tradition. Well, it looks like it already is. This evening, a massive fire broke out in St. Petersburg Mall. This is the biggest mall out there, at least in this area of the city. And it's completely gone, as you may see. Yeah, mishap happens. Well, locals say that there were any drones spotted in the sky, so probably, as usual, someone smoked at the wrong place, at the wrong time, happens in Russia. Some of the positive news are coming from Russia. At one of the enterprises, key enterprises of Ural, workers stopped receiving their salaries. 90s, exactly as what happened after the Soviet Union collapse, Russia returns to those dark ages and their economy as well. The crisis with even salaries is not just in this factory of Ural. It is also in Ural Vagon Zavod that produces, by the way, Russian tanks and BTRs. There are multiple of the sectors of the Russian economy that start to suffer even more for the last year, and it's imminent that Russian economy will collapse, absolutely, especially with the low oil prices. The oil was always the tool for Soviet Union and for Russia to make the profit, for its budget, for its people. It doesn't work any longer because of the sanctions, because of the low prices, and because of the kinetic sanctions which Ukraine applies on Russian enterprises and oil export and everything of that. So I don't know why Putin wants really to continue now with this war, because Zelensky proposed to Europeans and Americans a ceasefire with energy ceasefire, applied on Russia, applied on Ukraine, so just stop hitting each other's infrastructure. But Putin already answered, or Putin's officials like Peskov already said, no, we do not agree with that Zelensky's proposal. Who is that Zelensky? He is just a Ukrainian junta. He just seized the power. He's not a legitimate leader, and Russia doesn't recognize him as a president of Ukraine any longer, it seems like, because before then Zelensky was elected, actually they even met with Putin. And Zelensky was a president already by that time. So Russia, don't trust Russia. It's better not to have the deals with them at all. And President of Ukraine, Zelensky, said that he's not against elections. He said that there were some of the speculations coming from the United States of America. And definitely Donald Trump even said that Zelensky doesn't want to end this war because he wants to stay in power, because there are no elections. There should have elections. Well, as for me, it's not a good thing to happen. By the time there is a war against Russian aggression, dismantle Ukrainian society from within, because there could be some sort of the clashes, Someone support one candidate, someone support the other candidate. The last election campaign in Ukraine was as crazy as it usually happens in the United States of America. Well, maybe this time it's gonna be different, so Zelensky told members of parliament to prepare corrections to the election law of Ukraine to conduct elections even during the wartime. But yesterday Zelensky said that those elections are only possible under some of the conditions which United States personally may provide together with European Union. I guess this condition is at least the ceasefire for those elections to happen. CNN also came out with the article, could Ukraine really hold elections in the next 90 days? With some of the changes and with extensive ceasefire, yes. But will Russia agree on that? I don't think so. It's like a politician game happening. Donald Trump assaulted Zelensky personally with his speech, and Zelensky tells, you want elections? I'm not against that. Speak with your friend Putin, tell him to cease fire for the next 90 days, and we're gonna conduct elections. We're gonna try to change our legislation to make it happen. Even during the martial law, we'll see, but it seems like this plan will not work out. As for me, it's just a political game. And guys, more about Donald Trump? No, I'm not gonna speak about that idiot in this video any longer. I'm tired of that idiot. Really tired of that scumbag, and I don't have any words to explain my feelings. And I'm sure that most of you think as I do. Like, how is it possible to happen? Is it some sort of the strange idiocracy comedy movie? Like, what? Let's wake up, let's switch this off, change the channel. No, it doesn't work. It's sadly our real life. And oh my God, the humanity is so miserable. We have those guys in charge of the biggest freaking economy, biggest freaking military superpower. I want to scream, but who will hear me? You guys. Oh, Jesus. Only love helps, yeah, this positive attitude. Whew, yeah, I think I'm finished for this video. Thank you guys for supporting my job, and if you really want those videos to happen, you may support me on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below. And also you may support my channel on membership. Just press this join button over here. Well, obviously if you can. Yeah, if you have this financial opportunity and if you're willing really to maintain my job. If not, you just may press like to this video and also subscribe for the channel. That will help YouTube algorithms to recognize that this video could be interesting for you, and it will start to propel it to other guys out there on YouTube, because the goal for me is to have more views. Yeah, because the topic, you also watch probably other Ukrainian channels. You see the drop in the interest towards Ukrainian war, but we need to maintain it at some certain level. We need to boost the awareness. Yeah, that's what I'm here about. So thank you again, guys, for continue watching me, for your kind support, for everything you do. You're awesome, you're great. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.